gibberellins, or you can call it gibberellic acid. Where it is synthesized, it's like the same, almost closer to where auxins are produced. Auxins, the gibberellins are produced in the shoots and the young leaves. They still play an important role in cell division and elongation. That's the major function. But of course, other functions are there. Breaking steady dormancy by stimulating the breakdown of starch, which is a carbohydrate. Remember, for germination to happen, you need to have carbohydrates being broken down, or you have starch being broken down to maltose and other sugars that can be used for metabolic processes to generate ATP. So elongation, that means that is growth. When you talk about elongation, definitely that is growth. So promotes growth in the stem and work closely with auxins, what we call working synergistically with auxins to aid fruit development and phenocopy. So this is the other future of plant hormones that they actually exhibit, that they don't work in isolation. Some of these roles are shared. That's a point that I earlier on mentioned. Okay, so they are also very important in breaking dormancy in the buds, promote growth in ferns, triggers flowering in certain plants, like the cabbage, and then promotes flowering in what we call long day plants and inhibits flowering in short day plants. Okay, short day plants, long day plants, that is under the topic called photoperiodism. You can check that topic out and see what is in there. But basically, for now, I can remind you and say that photoperiodism is about plants flowering because of the duration for which they are exposed to light. Okay, so we have those that we call long day plants, and then those that we call short day plants. Okay, and therefore that is what we call photoperiodism. Okay, but also you can check out if photoperiodism actually also happens in animals. Do we have behaviors in animals that are associated with the length of the day? That's a question I'm leaving for you. So Gibberellins can be, if you know the effects of the Gibberellins, then definitely you will know where we apply them. So it's basically straightforward. If they cause growth, then they will be used for growth. If they cause flowering, they will be used there. If they break dormancy, they will be used there. So that's the whole point in their commercial application. So we move to the third category of these plant hormones. Cytokinins, synthesized in the roots and transported throughout the plant. Okay, still they are responsible for cell division and differentiation. Remember, you can connect cytokinins with the word cytokinesis. Cytokinesis. So if you know what cytokinesis is, definitely you should be able to relate it to cell division. And that type of cell division is mitosis in this case. Okay. So, what roles do they play? They control protein synthesis, therefore very important in source mobilization, breaks seed dormancy, helps in opening and closure of the stomata. I want you to again look at the different mechanisms that have been proposed for the opening and closure of the stomata. Of course, we are now seeing in this presentation that cytokinins play an important role in closure and opening of the stomata. So they play an important role in gaseous exchange. They induce parthenocopy. We looked at that in the other two plant hormones. So we are looking at it in the third hormone here. They are also very important information of tubers, especially potato tubers. The fourth plant hormone is abscisic acid. So this one is produced in quite a number of parts in the leaves, the stems, the fruits, and the seeds. Okay, they inhibit growth, major inhibitor of growth. So they inhibit growth promoters. So that means the three plant hormones that we have just looked at, since they're involved in growth in a different way, this abscisic acid actually is antagonistic to them. So that means that everything that these three hormones are for, abscisic acid is against them. So it is against growth. It is against, it promotes somatoclosure during water stress. That means that when the plant is not really having sufficient water, and induces dormancy, and sometimes promotes senescence and inhibits root growth. And what you can look at this hormone as a hormone that says, hey, please don't take us at a high speed. We need to relax a little bit. Okay. So it's basically telling this to the other plant hormones, don't take us, or don't take this plant at a very high speed. So it inhibits growth to make sure that the stomata is closed. It's just calming down situations, especially in water stress, and also inducing dormancy. Basically, that survival mode, this hormone is basically responsible for that survival mode. If things are not right, if the environmental conditions are not right, then you don't want to basically continue growing. You don't want to keep your stomata open. You don't want to have growth, and you have all this energy being used for growth anyhow when situations are not right. So it's like abscisic acid basically acts as a check. Okay, this is a question that I had left for you to basically look at, the mechanism of stomatal closure. We talked about cytokinins playing an important role. And now we are also seeing that abscisic acid also plays an important role. So with the cytokinins, we talked about regulating the opening of the stomata. And then with the abscisic acid, the emphasis was on closing. If you can check that again, it's about closing the stomata when the situation is not right. That is when the plant is having water stress. Okay, so you will look at this mechanism and see that we have other actors in the opening and closure of the stomata. You have potassium ions or proton pumps and chloride channels also playing an important role, including the potassium ions. So this all relates with the cells that actually, what I'm calling the gatekeepers of the stomata. So what does this mean? Is that you have cells that guard the stomatal opening, and these cells are the ones we call the guard cells. So these guard cells are the ones that take in water and then swell and then close the opening. So the taking in of that water is of course driven by how these ions move, as you check out later. But of course, if you don't do sufficient research and maybe it is confusing you, you can check out on the app or on the learning platform just type in the mechanisms of stomato opening, and you definitely get that presentation there. Okay, so we move. How do we use abscisic acid? If we want to control the timing of harvesting fruits, that means that if you don't want the plants to bear fruits early, such that you harvest them in a period when you have abundance, when all other people are producing the same crop or the same fruit, that means that the market will actually go down. So you want the fruits to bear when there is scarcity. So that means that timing of when you're going to harvest your fruits is very important in you getting the returns that you want. So abscisic acid helps in that. So the last one, the last plant hormone here is ethylene or ethylene, produced by ripening fruits. Very important in fruit ripening. So, like I said, every plant hormone that we are having plays an important role in several metabolic processes, growth processes, stomato opening processes, and dormancy and things like that. Each one of these plant hormones that we have looked at, they have major functions. So with ethylene, the major function is about fruit ripening. That's the major function. Okay, so like we said, produced by ripening fruits, aging leaves, and then also flowers. Okay, so the major function is fruit ripening, helps in the repair of damaged parts, sites, and then promotes shading of plant parts, that is shading of the plant, of the fruits, and also shading of the leaves. Helps in breaking seed dormancy and also bud dormancy, and therefore can be used in promoting ripening in bananas and mangoes. Helps in fruit thinning, helps in loosening fruits from for picking machines. Okay, make sure that the machines that are used for harvesting these fruits can easily do that. Also, induce flowering in the pineapple. Okay, so that marks the end of this presentation about plant hormones. We have looked at 5 hormones and how they work. Sometimes they work synergetically. That means that they work in synergy. That means that they promote the effects of one another such that you have a greater impact. Okay, they work one another and then have a greater impact. And then we have seen that abscisic acid is actually antagonistic, okay, to the other 3 auxins, gibberellins, gibberellins, and the cytokinins. And then we have looked at a theme which is very important in fruit ripening. So most of these functions are related to fruits. And then